Low rank. Exploring new areas. Just pressing buttons for fun. Frontier's low rank is very close to the mainline versions we've all grown accustomed to. An extended tutorial, if you will. At the same time, it absolutely floods you with dozens of things you may or may not be prepared to take in all at once. A small list. Event quests and defender weapons, courses, World City and Land Select, gifts, the 10 trillion subscriber milestone I'll hit in the next 5 minutes or explode, weapon choices, menus, NPC hunters and
instructor,
travel arrow, navi, daily weapon boost featured weapon. It's a lot and doesn't even begin to cover all these other things that come with Frontier. So buckle up. At the start there is a start, which server to play on and how to read these strange glyphs. The standard choices range for better or for worse. Another common pick is Mesa Lounge, and yet another recommendation I've seen is Hunter's Verse. If you only ever played on one of them, you'd have a different experience from someone who's played elsewhere. Rain has magnificent Discord integration, gacha systems, and is very populated, but the grind to endgame gear is borderline live-esque, the size can cause server issues and drama is not unheard of. Hunter's Verse has much less grind in comparison, but some endgame systems regularly don't work, and it feels a little abandoned. The sign-up process is also a filter for almost everyone. It requires reading. Mesa Lounge offers some custom stuff and tries to iterate on base, Frontier Z, reducing some vanilla grind, but cranks up the optional endgame difficulty. All three are compatible to community patch to slightly rebalance the early game armor upgrade requirements and the hellscape that was HR 5 and 6. It's still a hellscape, but it's our hellscape. You got that? It'll be on a test.
But I don't have hands.
Then take mine, we're on a schedule. Early game is pretty equivalent on all of them, and I specifically try to keep this as vanilla as possible, at least until the incident. There exists a community-made English patch that translates all the important bits like some tutorials, skill names and out-of-quest quest descriptions. Personally speaking, I don't think it's necessary because anyone installing it would be playing Monster Hunter and the true hunter can't read. Since I already have characters on these two, I'm playing on Mesa. Character creation is exactly what you'd expect from old chat. Yamete kudasai, brother. Land select is kind of irrelevant, they're vaguely themed for certain activities with the exception of the tavern, which is a more streamlined hub but is less popular than the standard Mesa Porter area. And finally, home sweet home. We get greeted by this lovely fellow who's offering us help or banged our mom or something. It's not translated, so it's not important. We wouldn't be able to read it either way. Here's your reminder that this was an MMO. No. Not this one. No. 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 Actually, yes. Course was enabled as a subscription, and there were different types and tiers to them. They're all enabled usually, but there is one thing you need to be aware of. Part of the premium course is a timed effect of the Hulk potion, which lasts for about 2 hours. Hulk potions are a consumable that reduce non-dot damage taken by 70% after all other modifiers like defense or res. This and how guts works in this game are very likely the reason attacks and attacking strings in this game are the way they are. If you allow players to just not card when they should have, you'll need to find other ways of guaranteed punishment, which I'll touch on when we get there. Your best bet is avoiding that potion, at least for the first clear of any given hunt, and avoiding this bonus entirely. One of the biggest filters is that these things are disabled in a lot of the later hunts, which usually filters exactly those that didn't learn on the way. There's more to be said, but the guy on screen is already moving and you're going with him. The very first quest I recommend doing is exactly this one. Look at the objectives to make sure it's the correct one. Behold. Combat. Break Hypnox Peak and capture it, this unlocks what would later become defender weapons. Unlike defender weapons, these are not insanely overpowered and merely reduce grinding for other weapons. Since I'm not exactly new to Frontier, I'm doing this to showcase them existing, but won't use them until after the mainline style progression. On to the first key quest. This is with the rebalance mod on, and it's business as usual, kinda. If you don't have other humanoids to play with, the game will happily provide you some. These are rusters. There's a small set of them and you'll cycle through them randomly. Bring them if you like, they're usually at best additional targets. Early on, even the mother copulator will join us. Hey stepdad. Unimpressed as always. Doing any quest also rewards us with GCP, which is short for Guilds to Shop points, which you can spend next to the grocery store. Sounds like a shitpost, but I'm mostly serious. These largely behave like the village points from old gen, except the special shop for them is permanently available and has a much wider range of options, so they're better thought of as the equivalent of Sunbreaks Anomaly Coins. You can grind them specifically through Diva Defense, Route, and series quests, which are all vaguely similar. Back-to-back monster hunts, sometimes randomized, sometimes in specific arena-esque environments. Diva Defense offers a little more, but we'll get there when we get there. Key quest, and a short detour to the Forbidden Crab later. Can you believe they added a cutscene to what is essentially a random off-the-beaten-path HR1 monster? We're at HR2. Get out of the way. HR2 gives us access to one of the, in my opinion, coolest things in all of Monster Hunter. Partners. A customizable NPC which includes their skill loadout and equipment. Partners don't care about their equipment as long as of the quest rank, so low, high, G. Of the quest you bring them in, they'll be fine. Skills on gear does not matter for them. Every skill is a point unlock. For weapons, they care about what stuff is on them, but not how much. So any, say, dual sword you give them with power on it will perform exactly the same as any other dual sword with power, although length can be a factor. With Abigail beaten, we can make this awesome greatsword to showcase that length does in fact matter. Most Frontier servers offer extra free stuff, called gifts, which you can pick up from this NPC. Rain a while ago had some HR 5-6 equipment there for starters, and most of their bounty stuff from Discord integration is available here. The Navi becomes relevant around here too, because we're going to make what I largely consider the defender armor of Frontier. And that requires money! Navi is sort of a guided to-do list to help funnel you into a reasonable progression pace and highlight some of the things you can do and are ultimately meant to do. The final, usually important thing is changing the Caravan Jewel to the rainbow color. This change lasts about a day, so keep an eye on it regularly. Capcom really knew their audience. I'll get more in depth about it at a later point, but it's an additional point system to unlock additional non-equipment skills. It has several colors that correspond to certain types of monsters, and picking rainbow means you're always gaining towards something. It's vaguely around here that many people will ask themselves, so what's the big deal about Frontier? This is just old gen, lol. This is low rank. A mechanic... People stuff? I have to take your word for it. I cannot beat him there. Ruko the Aaah is an optional difficulty spike in early Frontier. Farming him a bit gives us armor that is significantly stronger defensively than most other things we could do and make at this stage, but doing so early can prove challenging. Which is very in line with what I'd like to see mainline defender gear become. It'd probably be more widely accepted if the game-breaking stuff was locked behind something that was genuinely not easy for a newcomer to do, assuming that getting quote normal unquote equipment was not a 12-week detour, but I digress. A couple Ruko slays and a few related quests later, step 1 of acquiring proc gear is complete. This will last us until it doesn't. Key quest, the thing I'll use to prove people don't actually want old MH back. Key quest, and urgent quest. Espinas, Frontier's mascot. You've probably seen it in Sunbreak, and if you approach it like you approach that version, it's significantly more chill when it's calm, and it's significantly more aggressive when it's not. Especially early on, it's hard to enrage it in a timely manner to get hit zones going you don't bounce from. I'm familiar with this hunt specifically taking 20, 25, 30 minutes and more, and it surely would have if it wasn't for the daily active feature. This is the lifeline for some weapons, and a strong case of whatever for others. Lance, while featured, gets free guard +1, that's about equivalent to guard 3 in modern games, and reflect 3. Reflect is a skill that'll pop up much later. When blocking an attack, your shield will trigger a 48 MV impact type attack. Some weapons will benefit greatly from being featured. Swag gets double the sword gauge from doing its thing. Greatsword gets +100 affinity on draw attacks, while others don't get such an unhinged buff. Longsword gains 40 attack instead of 10 from full spirit gauge, and dual swords' health and stamina drain during their demon modes gets reduced. Here's a full list. You're welcome. If that was too fast, you can check the full VOD here or learn why we're doing this in the first place here.